Is the census and your work on redistricting related?
That's interesting. You know, I actually started on this really thinking about the redistricting process. And I would have said that, these two things, generally speaking, one is connected to the other in the sense that the numbers that the census ultimately collects on where people live, and your earlier caller is right. Ideally you'd have one question, which is, how many people live in your household? And that number is ultimately used to both apportion each state's share of seats in the House of Representatives, as well as to ultimately to redistrict in each state, all the way down to your county level, your city level. Many city councils will use census numbers to figure out, if you've got districts, how many people are in each of those districts, so that you can understand and draw the lines to make each district equal in number of people. What's interesting is that that's usually how we see redistricting connected to census. You get a really good, accurate count of people, then you can use those numbers to apportion people and to draw the lines. What's been surprising is that this plot that we've been uncovering to try to manipulate redistricting, now we thought that was all about redistricting. We now understand that that is a plot that goes all the way down to thinking about how to manipulate census so that the numbers, once they're rigged, can be brought into the redistricting process. That plot was made very clear in a study that was done in 2015 by Thomas Hoffler. He goes through in fairly extensive detail, and if people want to look at it, they can look at www.commoncause.org/Hoffler, Hofeller. You can check out what that study says. He's pretty unabashed, unashamed about saying that he knows that there's a one-person, one-vote standard that the Supreme Court would abide by. He knows that based on that standard, it would be a radical departure to move to a citizen-only based redistricting. He knows that the Supreme Court would be unlikely to overturn that long precedent unless they could make a change, and that change would be to add a citizenship question to the census form. He knows that if you could change that, if you could change redistricting so that it was based on citizens only, that it would be, in his words, quote, advantageous to Republicans and non-Hispanic whites, close quote. And he also says that that if you could use citizen-only to redistrict, that you could dilute the votes of Latinos and then pack all of the rest of the Democrats into as few districts as possible. So this strategy that he laid out in 2015 was honest, because he was writing the study for a Republican mega donor, but also chilling, right? To see that the lengths that a group of people would go to gain partisan advantage on the election sphere, to try to infiltrate into something that everybody treats as fundamentally nonpartisan, which is the census form. We want that census form to just be asked of every single person who's here in the U.S. Without a finger on the scale for one side or the other.